Hi, welcome to another video from Habas Kitchen. Today I'm going to show you how to make a vegan cottage pie. Now the traditional English way to make cottage pie is to use beef with vegetables as the base and then top it with mashed potato. And we're going to use lentils instead of the beef today. Now you can use any colour lentils, red, yellow, brown. But obviously if you want to make it more like beef in appearance, then use brown lentils. So the rest of the ingredients, they are 1 large onion, or 2 small as I've got here, then 3 cloves of garlic, a large carrot, now that's about 200 grams, and then 4 cups of vegetable stock, which is about 1 litre, a cup and a half of uncooked lentils, which is about 260 grams. Then we're going to use 1 to 2 tablespoons of Worcester sauce, that obviously depends on your taste, and then a teaspoon each of rosemary and thyme. Then to finish, I've got 100 grams of peas and 100 grams of sweet corn, both are frozen, just straight from the freezer. Obviously for the topping we're going to need potatoes. You see I've got quite a few here, that's about 1400 grams of potatoes, obviously they'll be peeled and mashed, and then 3 tablespoons of vegan butter. Now there'll be a few things that we need in order to create this dish. The first of which will be a large saucepan, that's for the lentil mixture. We'll also need another large saucepan, or I'm going to use a stock pot just to boil the potatoes in. And then a large oven dish. This is a 9-inch by 13-inch. So the first thing we need to do is the laborious task of peeling the potatoes. Now I'm going to do it ultra quickly today. Got my peeler. Done. So now what we need to do is just chop them down so they're all equally sized. Got the smallest one there, they're all going to be about that size. And obviously they need to be all the same size, that makes it easier to boil. And they'll all be ready at the same time. And just while I'm doing this, I'm also just bringing the water to the boil to place these in once they're cut. Okay, there we are. So I'll just drop those straight into the water now. Now they're going to boil for probably around 25 minutes. Obviously you need to check, what you need to do is just stick a knife in one, and if it falls straight off the knife then they're ready for mashing. So while the potatoes are boiling, we can start preparing the lentil vegetable mixture. So to start with, we need to peel and dice the onion. So let's get that diced. Okay, that's the onion chopped. Do the same for the garlic. Obviously with the onions you can crush them or do what you normally do with them. I just prefer just to finely chop them. Okay, that's the garlic and the onion chopped and ready to saute. So what we're going to need to do, just move that out of the way for a sec. Now you can use oil or you can use water for this. I'm just going to drop just a tablespoon of oil into my large saucepan. And just bring that to a medium heat. And once that's up to just a medium heat, we'll put the onions straight into the saucepan. I'm going to saute those for just about 5 minutes, just until they're softened. And while they're sauteing, it gives me a chance to chop the carrot. So as it's quite a thick carrot, I'm going to actually quarter it. So it'll be into discs and then quarters. I prefer to do the quartering first, try and hold it together, and then you can just slice. Like so. You can use frozen carrots for this recipe, but you'll just need to hold off on adding them to the saucepan until the very end when we add the peas and sweet corn. And as I said, it's about 200 grams that we're using. So there we are. And we'll keep the onions moving around the saucepan. And then after sort of a couple of minutes, we'll add the carrots as well. And then for the remainder of 5 minutes of sauteing, we've got the onions, garlic and carrots in there. And at this point you can also season, so salt and pepper if you choose to. And just, as I said, keep those moving around so that nothing sticks, nothing burns. But just in the last minute or so of that sauteing, I'm boiling the kettle with the 4 cups of water to make my vegetable stock. Okay, so the kettle's now ready. So as I said, it is all the way up to the litre mark. That's 4 cups. So we'll give that a quick stir. And that's ready to go in. Just before I put that in though, I'm going to add the rosemary and thyme, and it was just 1 teaspoon of each. And just give that a very quick stir. And then add the stock. Again, keep stirring that. So what we're aiming to do now is just bring this up to the boil while we add everything else. So I need the cup. So it's 1.5 cups or 260 grams of lentils. So these are uncooked. Finally, the Worcester sauce. Now I like to add a couple of tablespoons of this, but I recommend starting with 1, see how you like it, and then you can always add more. And this is Biona organic Worcester sauce, so it's all vegan, so be careful, some Worcester sauces aren't vegan. So what we need to do next is, that's up to the boil now, I'm just going to reduce the heat slightly, just take it down to a nice gentle simmer. And I'm going to be leaving that to simmer for about 35 minutes. And after 25 minutes of that, I'll be adding the peas and sweet corn. And so obviously before the end before this is cooked, the potatoes will be finished boiling and I can prepare the mash as well. And one last thing to remember is to keep that covered for 35 minutes. What I usually do is keep it covered, and then when I add the sweet corn and peas, I'll uncover it just to allow it to thicken up slightly. Right, so we're going to check the potatoes now. I think they'll be ready. It's been about 25 minutes. So as I said, we're just looking for the potatoes to fall straight off the knife, and they're doing that, so they're ready to go. I'm just going to drain them into the sink. So once they're drained, return them to the same pot, and then we can get the vegan butter. So it's just 3 tablespoons of the butter, along with any seasoning, so a little bit of salt and pepper if you wish. And with your masher, just give that a good mash. So we'll just mash it all together. So that's to be a good thorough sort of mixing of the potatoes. We'll get a nice creamy mashed potato. So it doesn't matter that these are ready ahead of the lentils, because we're going to put it in the oven, put it all in the oven next anyway. So what I'm going to do is preheat the oven. So it needs to be 220 centigrade or 200 fan assisted. So we'll leave the potatoes to the side. And as I said, we've got about 10 minutes left of this. I'm going to give that a quick stir. I'm going to uncover it. I'm going to leave the lid off now and allow that to thicken up, and also just add the peas and sweet corn. So I'm just going to stir all of that sweet corn and peas through there thoroughly, just so it's evenly spread around the mixture. So you can also see that that's thickening up, and now that I've taken the lid off, that'll thicken up even more. And it's important that it does thicken up because we want it to support the mashed potato in the oven dish. Okay, so just another sort of 10 minutes, no more than that, and we'll be ready to go. Okay, so I'm taking that off the heat now, that's about ready. So what I'm going to do is just move that lid. So we need the large oven dish. On this we're just going to pour this straight in just to make the base layer. So it should give a nice layer just along the bottom of this baking dish. And you can just spread it out. You can see it's nicely thickened up. Okay, and that's ready for the mashed potato. So it's best to use a wooden spoon to add the mashed potato in, and the key is with this to use small amounts of the potato, which reduces the amount that actually sinks into the mixture. So just sort of place it out on top and try and spread it without forcing it downwards. And this should be enough to give a good layer all the way across the surface. Okay, so that's pretty much there, just got the last few little bits to add. So it's important you go right to the edges, right into the corners, and try and sort of seal off the bottom layer so that it bakes in the oven, and that will sort of thicken it up. It will turn it into an actual sort of pie that you can cut into slices or squares or whatever. And once it's all on, it's all spread out, just try and sort of flatten it out. What I like to do then is just try and press it all down with a fork. Now if you sort of fork a pattern into it, what that does, when it's baking in the oven, that will sort of crisp up the sort of sharp edges that you create. So it's quite good to sort of flake it up a little bit. And then on top of that, if you wanted to add like a sort of cheesy topping, you could either use some supermarket vegan grated cheese, or you can add some nutritional yeast flakes, which is what I'm going to do. So I'm just going to sprinkle it. You could actually add the flakes into the mashed potato when you're mashing it, but I quite like just putting it on top. That way you can sort of control. If you're serving to someone who doesn't like the nutritional yeast, then you can sort of leave it out of their corner. So it's quite useful, just sprinkle it on. And you can even just sort of dab it down a bit just so that it stays in the potato. Otherwise that's ready to go in, so the oven's preheated and I'm going to put that in. It just needs to go in for 10 to 15 minutes, just until you start to get some sort of browned edges of the mashed potato. So also while that's baking in the oven, it's a good opportunity to prepare any vegetables that you're going to serve with it. So we're going to do asparagus and broccoli, but obviously there's a number of different greens that you can use. And as I said, you can do that while that's baking and then it'll all be ready at the same time. And without further ado, here is our vegan cottage pie. So that's now ready to serve as it is, as I said, alongside some greens or other vegetables. It will keep in the fridge for 2 or 3 days if you're not eating it straight away. Also, if you wanted to make it ahead and freeze it, you'd need to freeze it without the mashed potato and just add the mashed potato when you're ready to serve it. Other than that, I hope you enjoyed the video and I hope you have a go at the recipe. If you do, leave any feedback in the comment section down below. Also like and subscribe, and I'll see you in another video.